BOTV Go app එක දැන්ම දාගන්න. BOTV Go SLT BOTV ටීවී බලන හොඳම විදිහ.
Tonight, ready-made package, a host of relief measures put in place to revive the tourism industry.
The VAT has also been pushed to a concessionary rate. Applicable rate here will be 5%.
The path, however, is far from rosy.
This is the biggest battle we have at the moment. Almost all the countries have issued these adverse travel advisories.
A plea to envoys. The president calls for a lift to travel restrictions on Sri Lanka during a briefing with foreign diplomats. It isn't over. The Prime Minister heralds that Sri Lanka's security is nearing normalcy, but the threat persists. Accounts of terrorists take a hit. Property of terror suspects to be confiscated. All this and much more coming up tonight on First at 9. This Tuesday, the 7th of May 2019.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
අයඩෙක්ස් ඇතුළත ඉදිමීම සමනය කරන අතර විනාඩි 5කින් ක්‍රියා කිරීම ආරම්භයි. අයඩෙක්ස් දිවියට නව දිරයක්. අයඩෙක්ස් වෙතින් එසේ කැක්කුමට විශේෂඥයා අයඩෙක්ස් හෙඩ් ෆාස්ට් ඉක්මනට සහනය අදම අත්විඳින්න.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very warm welcome to you across Sri Lanka and around the world. Well, unrelenting search operations by tri-forces and police continue to yield various questionable equipment and weapons. President informed Parliament that 13 safe houses used by the Easter Sunday suicide bombers and 41 of their bank accounts have now been identified and will be confiscated. Meanwhile, in schools today, there was more student attendance with the percentage ranging from between 20 to 25%. It is a significant improvement from yesterday, where attendance was a mere 5%. Only grades 6 and upwards have schooling this week, with grades 5 and below set to restart school next Monday onwards. Security officials as well as the Ministry of Education assure that adequate protection is provided for schools and students across the island.
The police and police special task force intervened to control a tense situation at the Palavatta sugar factory in Buttala today, which was the result of a secretive discussion the factory chief operations officer Surad Ahmadin had with 13 Muslim employees. While the CEO was being interrogated, the police special task force conducted search operations at his residence and one person was arrested. The arrestee had confessed that he hid certain items within the nearby sugarcane plantation upon instructions of the company's COO. The ensuing search operation yielded 5 walkie-talkies, uniforms of VIP security and several other items. Meanwhile, schools were conducted for a second day today for grades 6 and upwards amid tight security. Search operations were also carried out in schools by police and tri-forces with the support of parents. Meanwhile, police and the STF conducted a search operation at a house in Negombo where 8 communication signal jammers were found. These high-tech jammers can even disrupt walkie-talkie communications. Former Provincial Councillor of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, Shafi Rahim, was arrested in pertaining to the incident. In the meantime, in Moragahena, police was alerted to a mine explosion which had occurred when a backer was at work in the area of Talagalavatta. A search operation was launched immediately and it yielded 179 detonators from the land. Search operations in the hill country led to the discovery of a bag containing clothes similar to that of army uniforms at a garbage pile behind the Hatton bus stand. 2 swords, books and magazines with drafts of Sri Lanka's map, several pieces of clothes similar to that of military attire, a box used for ammunition storage, CDs and mobile phones were recovered during underwater search operations conducted in the Kodamapitiya tank in Panduwasnuwara. Meanwhile, a 12-bore firearm and 13 live ammunitions were found from a thicket in the area of Nambulo in Pasyala. Search operations worked off in the areas of Ratna Udagama and Kirikandaruwatta in Ratgama led to the arrest of 3 suspects as 8 swords were found from several houses. Moreover, 15 swords were found during search operations in Beruwala. Search operations in the Hamilton Canal in Negombo meanwhile led to the discovery of a considerable stash of equipment. 6 swords, 4 knives locally known as manna, 8 other knives, 11 mobile phones, 4 computer tablets and various other equipment were found during the operation. In the meantime, 2 hand grenades were found inside a parcel left at a paddy field in the village of Parakum of Madrigiriya. They were destroyed in a controlled explosion by the army.
Acting Inspector General of Police C.D. Vikramaratne insists that all suspects connected to the Easter Sunday attacks are either under arrest or have deceased. Addressing a media briefing at the Ministry of Defence last evening, the acting IGP also said that a stash of explosives hidden away by 2 particular suspects intended for a later attack were also discovered. Sitting at the same media briefing, Defence Secretary General Shanta Kotegoda was positive over the country's security plan in place at present.
A carefully devised security program is already being implemented. It's the security forces that can ensure the security of this country. Therefore, we request the public not to be deceived by rumours. From the moment this incident happened, we took all measures to ensure security of the country. Accordingly, the government has given all the powers to tri-forces under the emergency law, and they have provided security to all the necessary locations while attempting to revive the day-to-day lives of the people. We have already given necessary orders to arrest everyone linked to these attacks and those who might be planning similar attacks in the future. We have taken all possible steps to tighten the security of the airport to avert possible airstrikes. We have also deployed our troops for search operations conducted at schools. The police have identified and arrested almost everyone who are responsible for the attacks. Moreover, there were 2 who specialized in bombs and both of them are dead. They had hidden some explosives to be used in future attacks and the police found the stash.
And days after the devastating attacks here in Sri Lanka, the Director General of Civil Aviation made a proclamation that operations of all unmanned aerial vehicles, including drones, are prohibited within the airspace of Sri Lanka. Now, the prohibition is still in effect. The Air Force today announced that Air Defence Network island-wide is now instructed to act with extreme prejudice regarding operations of unmanned vehicles as they are considered a threat to national security. Spokesperson of the Sri Lanka Air Force Group Captain Gihan Seneviratne gave a situation update which included their school-centric measures.
The Sri Lanka Air Force deployed troops for the protection of schools and the children therein in 3 main sectors under the purview of Sri Lanka Air Force, namely Colombo, Katunayaka and Ratmalana. In addition to that, in the subsections of Moravava, Palavi, Sigiriya, Mirigama and Diyatalava, also, the Sri Lanka Air Force deployed troops for the protection of schools and school children. Coordinated search operations were conducted in the Porutora area of Negombo by the Sri Lanka Air Force Base Katunayaka and in the 8th colony of Veeravilla by Sri Lanka Air Force Station Veeravilla. Search operations were conducted by Sri Lanka Air Force Diyatalava with the police Bandaravela in specific places identified by intelligence reports. Operation of drones and unmanned aerial vehicles is considered a threat to the national security and the operations conducted towards ensuring national security. The island-wide air defense network has been instructed to act with extreme prejudice against any such craft found operating within the airspace of Sri Lanka. The Air Force will also take action to locate and identify persons operating such craft and will act to ensure that they are dealt with to the maximum extent of the law.
The President of Sri Lanka, Maithripala Sirisena, is of the view that the strategy of the so-called Islamic State was to make their presence felt. It is well documented that IS has seen their territory of control in Syria and Iraq decimate, with the previously self-proclaimed caliphate dwindling. Speaking to the BBC recently, the head of state, however, said that the so-called Islamic State could go up against stronger nations, which may have led them to pick Sri Lanka as a staging ground.
I'm surprised as to why the terrorist organisation chose our country to carry out these attacks. I still have no answer to this. I have a notion that the IS wanted to make their presence felt by choosing a harmless country like ours, as they were unable to go up against stronger nations.
But there were repeated warnings in the lead up to the attacks about the possibility of bombings taking place. Not acting on those warnings was a huge failure, wasn't it?
Once the intelligence service received this message, security heads did not take any action, and they did not inform me either. They first received this message on the 4th of April. Their failure to inform me can be viewed as negligence. I have removed them from their positions, and I have also appointed a committee led by a Supreme Court judge to investigate this matter.
But don't you think that you should be considering your own position here?
No state leader has stepped down from their position because of an explosion in their country. Neither have they run away from their duty. I am fulfilling my duty by eradicating terrorism from this country.
And there's been a recent very high-profile spat between you and the Prime Minister. Is that what lies beneath this failure of the intelligence services to adequately share information?
There is no such issue between myself and the Prime Minister. Political differences and other issues have not affected the country's national security or the functions of our government. Everyone is committed to ensure that issues surrounding our national security are addressed.
Are there any measures taken to resurrect the tourism industry? We'll talk about all that and much more after this short break on First at 9.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is AdaDerana 24.
General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, MP DAYASIRI JAYASEKARA, alleges that loose policies were adopted in safeguarding the rights of the people of other ethnicities to live in Sri Lanka while practicing their religious faiths and cultures. Speaking at a media briefing held at the party headquarters today, he also requested the government to regulate MADRASA schools across the country in order to promote a more inclusive education system.
I believe that Sri Lanka adopted a loose policy regarding the right of people of other ethnicities to live in Sri Lanka while practicing their religious faiths and cultures. While allowing all the ethnicities to follow their religions, we have to impose certain limitations over their right to establish separate cultures in the country. We did not have a proper legal mechanism when it came to building places of worship. An environment was created for everyone to build any religious site whenever they wanted. Now you can see the result of appointing separate ministries for each religion. Therefore, all these religions should be brought under one ministry and eradicate political parties established for separate religious sects. I request the government to take over madrasa schools and to regulate them. Teaching history and Sinhalese in these schools must be mandatory because most students in such schools do not even know the Sinhala language. This could lead to various issues. I request the army commander to reveal the name of that person because action must be taken against him.
And Canadian crypto agency exchange Coin Payments claimed that they are innocent following an article published by Israeli media outlet Globes, which stated that Whitestream, blockchain intelligence company, found IS using their online platform to transfer large sums of money to those involved in the Easter Sunday attacks. According to the Bitcoin exchange guide, Coin Payments stated that transactions are real, but they are not directly connected to ISIS and have initiated legal action against the company in order to protect their reputation and their clients. The report published by Globes recently highlighted that Bitcoin's anonymity, availability and ease with which unsupervised international money transfers can be achieved have made it the favored means of financing for terrorist organizations, including Islamic State.
According to Bitcoin exchange guide, cryptocurrency has been often accused of being used by criminals and terrorists, but added that in fact only an almost irrelevant share of the market is being used this way. The most recent case of terrorists using Bitcoin was reported by Globes, an Israeli business media outlet. According to the article, a local company which tracked terrorists using cryptos, Whitestream, has confirmed that Coin Payments, a Canadian crypto exchange, was used by terrorists to convert Bitcoin into fiat just before the Sri Lanka bombing. Globes went on to say that the intelligence group found that the terrorists had a balance of $500,000 before the day of the withdrawal, but dropped to $4.5 million a day before the attack. Whitestream also noted that Coin Payments acknowledged that their wallet was involved, but the company denied any connection to ISIS. Following the report, however, an article published on Bitcoin exchange guide said yesterday that the Canadian exchange Coin Payments claimed their innocence, stating that the transactions are real, but they are not directly connected to ISIS as Whitestream claimed. The article went on to say that the Canadian company affirmed that it does not provide crypto to fiat services as stated by Whitestream on its own report. The article further noted that Coin Payments accused Whitestream of defaming the company and that they would proceed to sue it for libel. Meanwhile, Amber Crypto, a crypto media outlet who investigated the whereabouts of Whitestream, stated that the studies made by the company were only reported by the Globe so far and that Whitestream did not have any media presence before 2019.
President Maithripala Sirisena urged the diplomatic community to take steps to lift travel restrictions imposed on Sri Lanka following the Easter Sunday attacks as the country is reviving from the horrific incident. Now, the head of state today briefed the diplomatic community about the progresses on security operations carried out across the island, as well as steps taken by the government to return the country to normalcy. Addressing all ambassadors and high commissioners based in Sri Lanka, the president or the resident representatives of the United Nations and affiliated organizations, as well as heads of other international agencies at the presidential secretariat, the president assured that 95% of terror suspects have already been arrested or accounted for. The head of state attributed the success of the ongoing anti-terrorism measures to Sri Lankan intelligence experiences gained during the 30-year-long conflict. He said that the confident that the current successful security operations and assistance of foreign intelligence expertise, the threat of terrorism could be curbed soon. The president's media unit said that foreign diplomats were unanimous in their expression of fullest support to President Sirisena to curb terrorism in Sri Lanka. Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa believes that the public's lack of faith in the government's handling of the security situation is hindering the tourism sector from recovering. The tourism sector became the biggest casualty in terms of revenue generation following the Easter Sunday attacks, with inbound tourist arrivals seeing marked decline. Addressing media following a discussion with representatives of the tourism sector last evening, the opposition leader was also critical of the head of state and the Prime Minister's failure to be on the same page after the tragedy.
A group of businessmen representing the tourism sector had a discussion with opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa last evening on the issues they are confronted with following the recent terrorist attacks. After the discussion, the opposition leader spoke to media.
Did you see how many students went to school after they were reopened? It shows that people don't trust what the government says. First of all, that trust should be established within the country, and then it should be established among the international community. Because if not, tourists will not come to Sri Lanka. Tourists visited locations which were more severely attacked by terrorists. There are also issues which stem from contrasting views expressed by the President and the Prime Minister when this situation first came to be. People in this country disregard all utterances this government make on national security. It means that the safety in the country is not ensured. The government should be more responsible about security than this. What these representatives of the tourism sector want is to see the travel advisories on Sri Lanka being lifted, as well as to see that security is ensured.
With
the revival of tourism in the country, which started some years back, we were confident we could do something. Moreover, many invested heavily in this sector. With this situation, everything has collapsed. We don't know when this situation will be resolved. Until the situation is back to normal, we request our investors and the government to look after us and to see that the situation is brought back to normalcy.
The Cabinet of Ministers today approved a special relief package that is intended to revive Sri Lanka's crippled tourism industry following the horrors of Easter Sunday. Among the proposals is the reduction of value-added tax from existing 15% to 5% for hotels and tour operators until the 31st of March next year. The package also includes a moratorium on capital and interest repayment for 1 year for loans taken by the industry. Now, the decision to submit these proposals was taken during a meeting between the President and representatives from the Chamber of Commerce last evening.
In terms of the financial thing, the moratorium on debt and interest payments is the first thing that we have looked at because we want to improve the cash flows of the companies. We are looking at the large companies to the very small companies. It will be on a case-by-case basis implemented through the banks through which they have obtained these loans. So moratorium will go right up to the 31st of March 2020 on capital and interest repayments. And the Central Bank of Sri Lanka are issuing regulations. Under Enterprise Sri Lanka have a JAYASEKARA loan and we have a green loan. We have already dispersed about 15 billion rupees just to the tourism industry over the past few months. Those loans will be subject to the moratorium so that it will help these companies with their cash flow. We are providing working capital loans. This will be for a period of 2 years with a 75% interest subsidy, which effectively takes the interest rate to 3.4%. The amount that one could avail themselves will depend on the turnover of that particular company. The VAT has also been pushed to a concessionary rate, and it will apply for the full year, 1st April 2019 to 31st March 2020, and the applicable rate here will be 5%. The Ministry of Finance has recommended that on all equipment that has to be imported, particularly for security measures, that's from handheld metal detectors to walk-through detectors to baggage x-ray machines to vehicle scanners. The HS codes will be specified and these could be imported duty-free. This is not just for the tourism industry, but this is basically for government institutions, schools, wherever the public come. This window will be open for anybody to import this equipment duty-free as we raise our safety standards.
Additional arrangements are being made to launch an aggressive public relations campaign to highlight that Sri Lanka is now safe for travel and open for business. We are working with the industry to offer attractive travel packages. Hotels and airlines have come up to offer heavily discounted rates to attract tourists. We are also in regular contact with the foreign missions in the country in order to revise the travel advisory. Now, this is the biggest battle we have at the moment. Almost all the countries have issued these adverse travel advisories. As the security situation has now considerably improved, we are confident that travel advisories will be revised, reflecting the latest situation. Government is also considering travel insurance in order to give confidence to the tourist industry. Leaders say to bring it up to about $100,000 to $150,000. Quantum has to be decided. Sri Lanka can bounce back the maximum period of 12 months. All the major tourist hotels have been safeguarded.
Well, taking you back to today's parliamentary sessions and highlights of the parliamentary session, President Maithripala Sirisena said that all measures have been taken to confiscate assets of terrorists involved in the Easter Sunday attacks. Speaking in Parliament today, the head of state, who holds the portfolio of defence and law, gave an update on the progress of wide-ranging investigations launched into the acts of terror. Meanwhile, expressing views during the adjournment debate, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe said that security forces have brought the country's security to a satisfactory level.
Security forces have brought the country's security to a satisfactory level. All who are linked to the Easter Sunday attack are now arrested. Persons who maintain relationships with these suspects continue to be arrested. Anyway, we have to keep in mind that the danger is still there, as this is a result of global terrorism. Although we arrest all the suspects involved in the attack in Sri Lanka, terrorists can operate from anywhere in the world. Therefore, all countries must unite to defeat global terrorism. Defeating terrorism is anyway a challenge. We have to strengthen our legal framework. Therefore, we're working towards bringing the Counter-Terrorism Act. Seeking foreign assistance to defeat global terrorism is wrongly defined by some parties. They say that we're planning to bring foreign forces, but nothing of the sort will happen.
සමහරුන් ජාත්‍යන්තර සහයෝගය ලබා ගැනීම විදේශ හමුදා මෙරට ගෙන්වා ගැනීමට සූදානම් වීමක් ලෙස හුවා දක්වනවා. නමුත් එවැනි දෙයක් සිදුවන්නේ නැහැ.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe also quoted a section from the 7-page document prepared by the Criminal Investigation Department and handed over to the Inspector General of Police on the Easter Sunday attack.
The Criminal Investigation Department has deployed 8 teams to investigate the attack, and so far the teams have taken in Mohammed Ibrahim Mohammed Naufar, who is believed to have been appointed to succeed the leader of the group who perished during the suicide attack at Shangri-La Hotel, Yusuf Mohammed Ibrahim Ijaz Ahmad, Mohammed Rahim Mohammed Sajid, and 52 others into custody so far in connection with the Bav attack. They are being currently grilled at the CID.
Amidst all this, as we work towards bringing normalcy to our country, now we must collectively focus our efforts on building back confidence in our economy. One of the most important ways to help our country and our economy is to bounce back is by encouraging our international partners to keep doing business with us. Many sectors of our economy rely on positive international support to continue their business. We commit to our international investors that our country is being made safe and all efforts are being taken to this end. It is their support during challenging times like this that we will ensure that terrorism will not win and Sri Lanka's quest for economic prosperity will not be beaten down. We have already begun formulating an assistance plan for the tourism industry.
At present, the country is in a satisfactory security condition. Our security forces have recovered a lot of explosives during the last few days. They have also identified 13 safe houses used by the terror organization and have taken them into custody. They have also found 41 bank accounts of terrorists and they have been suspended. All measures were taken to confiscate the properties and assets of these terrorists. Intelligence services say that this terror organization had made payments to various people for services rendered. Those persons were paid 2 million rupees each, and security forces also uncovered 18 million rupees in such payments. We also found 15 vehicles used by these personnel. 4 motorcycles were also taken into custody. I would like to remind everyone that bomb explosions happened in this country since the term of late President J.R. Jayawardena. Anyway, I have instructed security forces to destroy everyone who are connected to this tragedy. We must keep our confidence in security forces and intelligence services. I have given them all the powers to perform their duty for the country.
We have more of the very latest coming up on First at 9, but first we take a look at a short commercials.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel. This is AdaDerana 24.
Welcome back. In your top business news tonight, Sri Lankan Airlines has appointed Joshua Bustos as its Chief Commercial Officer and Shaminda Samaravira as its Chief Financial Officer with effect from April this year. Sri Lankan Airlines said Bustos is an internationally experienced senior airline executive with over 20 years of experience in the aviation industry, with several key positions in leading organizations including American Airlines, Spirit Airlines, South African Airways and Tiger Airways. Meanwhile, newly appointed Chief Financial Officer Shaminda Samaravira holds more than 15 years of senior-level corporate experience across several industries including telecommunications, banking and navigation. Taking into the stock market, the Colombo Bourse recouped early losses today but closed at their lowest levels in 6.5 years on lingering investor concerns following the Easter Sunday bombings. The ASPI lost 0.7%, while the S&P SL20 index also fell. Turnover was 333.3. We have a brief report now.
Ahead of the tomorrow weekly bill auction, secondary market yield remains steady while the overall market witnessed a limited activity with a low volume. However, in the equity market, both ended marginally in red, continued the negative for the fourth straight session to close the day at 5,382, losing 4 points, mainly dragged down by HNB and John Keys. The sluggish turnover was boosted by the Sampath Bank and the East West property. The foreign selling pressure was seen in Sampath Bank and Hemas Holding as a overall foreign outflow recorded at 57.05 million.
In our top story from overseas, 2 Reuters journalists jailed in Myanmar for their reporting on the Rohingya crisis were freed today after this was spent more than 500 days behind bars. Walon and Kyasu had been convicted in September and sentenced to 7 years in jail in a case that raised questions about Myanmar's progress towards democracy and sparked an outcry from diplomats and human rights advocates. 2 journalists were convicted on breaking the Official Secrets Act, and their freedom came as President of Myanmar issued an order to pardon the Daw. For all that you miss and all that is developing, do log on to www.AdaDerana.lk. I'm Indiva Yamuathan. Good night.